published 0718 Est, the 27th of November 2017, updated 0831 Est, the 27th of November 2017. The tale of a 20th century socialite who dedicated her life to exploring the Arctic and became the first woman to fly across the North Pole is being told in a new book. Louisiana Boyd, born in 1887, inherited her parents' huge fortune in 1920 and spent it on several death-defying explorations of some of the most remote parts of the world, challenging the view of what was required of a young high society debutante. Images from the new biography show her on the deck of one of her ships in 1926, proudly standing next to a polar bear she has shot, and in another she is posing in a jeweled gown as she is being presented to the King of England at Buckingham Palace. Astonishing Louisiana Boyd is pictured in 1925 being presented to King George V and Queen Mary at Buckingham Palace, and just months later she was shooting polar bears in the Arctic. Traveler Louise on board the FEM Morrissey with scientists left to right Frederick Grace Lee, Archer Taylor, and Tom Carroll during the summer of 1941. Different Miss Anna Boyd poses with a polar bear she has shot on board her ship The Hobby during the summer of 1926, and on her ship SS Vesle, the first to sail to the inner ends of Ice Fjord, Greenland. Exploring Miss Anna Boyd poses with a Spanish mariner named Francis J. de Gisbert at an unknown date and location. Born in San Rafael, California, to a millionaire mining magnate father and a mother from one of New York's most prestigious families, Miss Anna Boyd inherited a staggering family fortune when her parents died in 1919 and 1920 respectively. With it she began to travel extensively, seeing as much of the world as she could until, on a trip to Norway in 1924, she saw something that would shape the course of the rest of her life: the polar ice pack. She dedicated her life to Arctic expeditions, and in 1928, Miss Anna Boyd found herself involved in a search for missing Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen. Miss Anna Boyd's explorations from 1931 to 1938 included regions in and around Franz Josef Land, Spitsbergen, Greenland, Jan Mayen Island and eastern Arctic Canada. Inquisitive Miss Anna Boyd, seen handling a camera on Greenland in the late 1930s, spent her huge inheritance financing several death-defying explorations of the Arctic. Decorated Miss Anna Boyd is seen proudly wearing the Ordre National de la Légion d'honneur in Paris in 1928. Friendship Louise and longtime chauffeur Percy Cameron are seen walking down a street. She made history in June 1955 when she became the first woman in the world to fly over the North Pole, and her ship SS Vesle was the first to sail to the inner ends of Ice Fjord, Greenland. She was honored by the United States government and a number of foreign governments for her geographic studies and explorations. She died in 1972, aged 84. Her life is being retold by author Joanna Kaferovsky in the new book The Polar Adventures of a Rich American Dame, a Life of Louisiana Boyd. Louise signing the Flyers and Explorers Globe at the American Geographical Society office in 1938. Pride Miss Anna Boyd is seen looking at a map depicting her expeditions at her home in Maple Lawn, San Rafael, California, in the late 1950s. Doing good work Miss Anna Boyd, who died in 1972 aged 84, receiving award from the Department of the Army in 1949, honored sculpture of Louisiana Boyd and the subject herself seen in the Marin History Museum collection, currently in Novato, California. Cook who got there first. There are two claimants: American Frederick Cook, who says he and two Inuit men reached the geographic North Pole in April 1908, and Robert Edwin Perry, Matthew Henson, and four Inuit women who say they arrived in April 6, 1909. Fridtjof Nansen. Decades before the Americans didn't reach the North Pole, Norwegian explorer Fridtjof Nansen made a good go of it. During a three-year expedition in 1893–96, his team reached a record northern latitude of 86 degrees 14, the furthest north anyone had managed to travel at the time. Nansen also famously led the first team to ski across Greenland in 1888, and later in life became involved in the League of Nations, later replaced by the UN, and was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1922. Roald Amundsen's Norwegian explorer was the first to reach the South Pole, on 14 December 1911, and after leading a team flying to the North Pole in 1926, he became the first person to reach both poles. In June 1928, Amundsen and 5 crew disappeared during a flight in the Arctic to rescue missing explorers. The search was called off in September and their bodies have never been found. Anne Bancroft in 1986, American adventurer Anne Bancroft, 62, became the first woman to trek to the North Pole. She is also the first woman to cross both polar ice caps to reach the North and South Pole, and in 1993 she led the first all-female polar expedition to reach the South Pole.